Austin Reaves is forcing this franchise into one of the most serious decisions of this era. And if you're here with me, I'm going to talk to you calmly, honestly, like a Lakers fan talking to another Lakers fan who watches every possession and understands what this jersey means. This is Lakers News Fan Report. I'm here with you as always to bring real updates, real context, and clear analysis about our team, without drama for the sake of it, and without underestimating your intelligence. Tonight, I want to walk you through what's happening around Austin Reaves, what he has become for the Lakers on and off the floor, why his current level and contract situation naturally put his name in every serious front office conversation, how the Detroit Pistons enter this picture as a possible landing spot, what that would mean in basketball terms for both sides, and why, even when we talk about the possibility of him leaving, the central point is respect for what he built here and responsibility with the future of the team. I'm going to connect numbers, situations, and timelines, but always speaking straight, as someone who is on your side and cares about the purple and gold before any headline. First, I need to start with him, not with any destination. Austin Reaves today is not an accessory. He is a guard who grew into a primary engine when the team needed him most. He proved he can initiate offense, read the floor, get to the line, punish mismatches, keep the ball moving, and step into big shots without shaking. There were stretches where injuries to the main stars could have sunk the season, and instead we watched him step forward with the kind of poise you expect from a franchise-level creator, not from someone queuing at the end of the rotation. You've seen it. Advanced reads out of the pick and roll, pocket passes in traffic, patient drives where he manipulates the big, off-ball relocations to give shooting lanes to his teammates, the toughness to go at bigger defenders and still finish or draw contact. He became a reference point in the locker room and on the court. That matters, because when a guy earns that with performance, he earns leverage too. And this is where things get serious in the right way. The reality of the league is simple. A player at his age, producing at this level, stepping into bigger and bigger roles, is heading toward a massive new contract. He has earned the right to look at himself as more than a role player, and the market agrees. The front office knows that committing to him long-term means shaping part of the next competitive cycle around his presence, his salary slot, and his fit with the rest of the core. When I look at how he plays next to our main star, I see someone who understands spacing, someone who doesn't suffocate possessions, someone who can run second units and still close games in any lineup. There are not many guards with that mix of ego control, shot-making, and playmaking. That's why he is at the center of every serious internal conversation. And that's why you hear other teams being associated with his name. Not because he is weak, but because he is strong. Now, let me move into the part that a lot of people try to simplify, but you and I know is more complex: the potential of the Detroit Pistons as a destination. I want to treat this as a basketball discussion, like we're sitting together breaking down possibilities. When you look at Detroit's situation, you see a roster searching for stability around Cade Cunningham, needing a reliable creator who can play with and without the ball, someone to bring structure, scoring, and maturity. Reaves fits exactly that profile. A guard who can share primary duties, relieve pressure, hit shots, manage the tempo, and give a young core a professional backbone. That's why his name appears when people talk about logical targets for them. From their angle, acquiring someone like him means jumping steps in the rebuild. You don't have to guess if he can play. You already know. For the Lakers, however, the bar is completely different. Moving a player like Austin is not about, can another team use him? Of course they can. The question is, does any scenario involving him lead this team closer to winning the biggest games in May and June? If one day you even sit at a table to listen, it has to be because the return has the weight of a serious foundation piece. Size at the rim, defense, rebounding, long-term flexibility, picks that can unlock future moves. It cannot be about swapping a proven closer for a collection of maybe. It has to make sense within the context of the current CBA, the projected cap, and the timeline of your main star. When I run that through my head, I come back to the same point. The threshold for any deal involving Reaves is incredibly high. And that already tells you a lot about what he represents. The other side of this, and I say this as a fan first, is emotional, but it's also rational. Austin represents continuity in an organization that has changed faces, coaches, and rotations too often in the last years. He is one of the few stories of organic growth the Lakers have had in recent history. A player developed here, trusted here, embraced by the crowd here. There is a connection between him and the fan base that you don't manufacture. You feel it every time he gets hot, every time he takes a charge, every time he raises his hand in a big moment. Keeping a player like that is not just sentimentality. It's culture building. It tells the rest of the league and the locker room that if you come here, work, deliver, and fit the jersey, this franchise is willing to invest in you, not just use you as a transaction chip. That matters for attracting the next wave of talent too. From a technical perspective, I look at what he gives this roster, and I see balance. You can stagger him with other creators. You can use him as the bridge between starting group and bench. You can ask him to initiate offense when matchups dictating the ball out of the main star's hand. His efficiency as a pick-and-roll handler, his free throw generation, his touch from three, his ability to attack closeouts and punish defensive mistakes all open the floor. On defense, when locked in, he competes, he rotates, he absorbs physical drives better than most people assume just by looking at him. If you remove that from the equation, you don't just lose production, you reshape the way the whole offensive structure operates. Any talk about sending him to another team must start from that reality. It is not a small adjustment, it is a structural change. There is also the long-term financial lens, and I want to talk about it with you without hiding behind numbers. Any big contract for Reaves has to be sustainable alongside the deals for your marquee star and the rest of your core. The projections say he will be in position to demand elite money on his next agreement. And honestly, he has played himself into that conversation. The question for the Lakers is not, does he deserve to get paid? It's, how do we build a roster that uses his best years in a way that justifies the total investment? If you decide he is one of your long-term pillars, then you build lineups, schemes, and acquisitions to amplify what he does. You give him continuity with the main star shooting around him, size behind him. You lean into the chemistry that is already visible. There is a lot of logic in that path, and that's why many people inside and outside expect the Lakers to do everything they can to keep him in. Los Angeles, with an agreement that reflects his importance. So where do the Pistons really come in inside this whole story? They come in as the clearest, loudest mirror of how valuable Austin Reaves has become. When a young, rebuilding team that's trying to grow up fast looks at your guard and doesn't see depth, doesn't see good contract, doesn't see nice complementary piece, but sees a stabilizer, a culture guy, a closer, a solution to structural problems that they've been dragging for years, that tells you everything you need to know. It confirms what your eyes already told you watching him every night in a Lakers jersey. He's a high-level piece. He's not the sweetener glued at the end of a trade graphic. He's the name circled in red on the whiteboard. He's the guy other franchises visualize next to their cornerstone because of how he plays, how he competes, how he thinks the game. And that, for me, as someone who lives this team possession by possession, only reinforces one simple conclusion. If there is ever a scenario where the Lakers even sit down to hear anything involving Austin Reaves and a team like Detroit, it cannot be driven by panic, fatigue, or outside noise. It has to be on our terms, from a position of strength, with full awareness that we are talking about one of the pillars of what has gone right here in the middle of so many changes. You don't move a guy who understands this jersey just to prove you're bold. You only even consider it if the return respects his level and respects where this franchise wants to go. And that's exactly why I'm talking to you like this. Because this channel is not about throwing random names on the screen and screaming. It's about thinking with you, treating you like you're in that room. So put yourself there for a second, honestly. If a team like the Pistons comes calling, what does it really have to look like for you to say, okay, I get it? Would you even pick up the phone without, at minimum, a guaranteed starting caliber big who can impact games on both ends? A real defensive presence that protects the rim and the paint? A future first-round pick with real value, and all that without destroying the Lakers' flexibility to keep reshaping this roster around its main star? Or when you replay in your head everything Reaves has already done in big moments, the stretches where he carried creation, the playoff runs where he stepped forward instead of shrinking, do you feel it's time to break that old pattern of this franchise letting guards who fit here slip away and instead finally say, no, this one is part of our identity going forward? 2, 3 seasons from now, How do you see this backcourt if things are being done in the right way? Austin still here, trusted, paid, fully integrated as a long-term partner. The guy who knows the system, knows the locker room, knows the weight of this crowd. Or his value converted into more size and depth that, in your mind, closes specific holes, but maybe takes away that sense of continuity. Picture a 7-game series against the best in the West. Picture the moments when the main star is blitzed, when the offense needs a second brain with the ball, when you need someone to draw fouls, slow the game down, control a run. Is that Reaves on your screen in purple and gold? Or is that job spread across new faces you hope will handle it the same way? That's the level of conversation I want in the comments. Talk to me about lineups, not just names. Talk to me about matchups. Who checks bigger wings? Who runs second units? Who closes? Tell me if you believe that trading a guard who already proved he can live in this market's pressure is worth the risk of starting from zero with pieces that haven't worn this jersey yet. Your opinion here is not decoration. It's part of how we, as a community, hold the standard for what should or shouldn't be acceptable. Let me close this with the clarity you expect from real coverage, not theater. The key point today is that Austin Reaves has played himself into a space where two things are true at the same time. First, he is one of the most important players on the Los Angeles Lakers, on the floor and in the structure of this team. A guard who earned the trust to handle the ball, to close games, to represent what works in this era. Second, naturally, because of that level, he becomes one of the first names other franchises study as a primary target if they ever sense an opening. The possibility of him in a team like the Pistons exists in conversations because his game, his temperament, and his age fit exactly what many young projects around the league are missing. But as things stand, inside our perspective here, he remains a central piece in Los Angeles, and any concrete proposal would have to pass a test so simple that nobody should distort it. Does this move clearly make the Lakers better, deeper, more complete, and more prepared to fight for championships in the short and medium term on the court, not just on a spreadsheet? If the answer is no, there is nothing to talk about. If the answer looks like yes, only in a hypothetical diagram, and falls apart when you imagine a real playoff series, there is nothing to talk about. Right now, the most coherent path is to recognize his value fully, respect what he has built in this jersey, treat every sign of external interest as a confirmation of his importance, and demand from this front office decisions that are precise, responsible, and aligned with winning, not impulsive reactions to speculation. Tell me what you think. Put your view out there. And if you want to keep having this kind of conversation detailed, direct, from someone who bleeds purple and gold with you, make sure you're subscribed to Lakers News Fan Report. Turn on notifications, drop your like, and share this video with that one friend who never stops bringing up Austin Reaves every time we talk rotation. Here, you're always part of the debate as a serious fan, never just a number in the algorithm.